But anyhow, going back to what I was saying, Krishna was explaining. He was explaining to Arjuna, you have to fight. And Krishna said something that was very, very interesting. He said that, if you go into battle, you're going to win. I'm by your side. I'm a supreme being. I'm a supreme Godhead. But you must take action. He said, you're already victorious. All you got to do is launch the first arrow. You launch the first arrow, you're going to win. It says in the Bible, it says, faith without works is dead. If you're a righteous person who's afraid to do something, then your righteousness may as well not even exist. You may as well just be dead. In the Quran, it says, Allah is talking to the Prophet Muhammad. He says, I will slay them by your hand. Meaning that it will be God acting through the Prophet Muhammad, but the Prophet Muhammad had to act. Now, whether you believe in God or whatever terminology you use, the universal principles, Mother Nature, the laws of the universe, the law of attraction, whatever terms you use, require that you take action. And once you act, all the forces and principles of the universe will act in your accord. The source. Yes. You use the term the source. I use the term the supreme. It's all the same. And once you take the required action, because you are required to act. Why are you required to act? There was a Swami I was watching recently. He was talking about prayer. He was talking about prayer, and somebody asked him, what's the point of praying? And he said, well, the point of prayer is not so that you can talk to some higher being and get what you want. The point of prayer is to change you. You're praying because that focus of the mind upon the divine and your relationship upon the divine and your desire to bring things a certain way into existence, that changes you on the inside. Same thing with your actions. Remember, you take action not because you're trying to impress somebody, but because the impact of taking action will change you. If you're a true spiritual seeker, you understand. If you're a person who's dealt with low self-esteem or anxiety, I've dealt with both of those. And I've had to force myself to make a stand for myself sometimes to certain people. Certain people I have respect for, and I kind of had like a nervousness around them and anxiety around them. I had to like stand up to them. And then it changed me. It made me more powerful. These circumstances where I had to make a stand and say something made me more powerful. It changed me. I wasn't doing it for the benefit of anybody else. I did it because I had to do it. And the fact that I did what I had to do changed me. That's true. That's true spirituality. True spirituality is taking action. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna is questioning Krishna, he's saying, well, some people say any kind of activity is negative and that we should let go of all attachment. And Krishna says, what are you talking about? No. He said the body requires that you be active, and any kind of activity that you take upon yourself, as far as prayer and making sacrifices and holiness and rituals, all of that's beneficial. It's about action. Righteousness is about action. To be a righteous man and do nothing, you're not righteous. You have individuals like Martin Luther King. He was killed for his stance of bringing together people in racial harmony. You have individuals who were killed and murdered, but they weren't afraid to die. Martin Luther King said, I've seen the mountaintop. He said, I've seen the mountaintop. My eyes are I've seen the glory of the Lord, or something like that. Meaning that he was basically saying, yo, I know I'm going to die. He was a righteous man. He took action. And we all have to allow ourselves to really, truly embrace spirituality, which is an active process. The spirit of the universe is not it's not a still force. It's a dynamic force. We discover the spirit of the universe and we discover universal energy through stillness. That's a technique that we utilize for our benefit because we have to slow down and be still to quiet the mind so that we can see the inner workings of the cosmos. However, we are obligated to be in a state of activity, movement, to be truly righteous and spiritual beings. There are some individuals who withdraw from the world, right? They totally withdraw from the world and they go out into the wilderness and they meditate all day and they fast and that's great, that's wonderful. And they come to a deep spiritual understanding. But can you say that person is righteous if they're not doing anything for other people? Yin and yang of life. Exactly. There's a time for stillness and a time for movement. And you must embrace both. Sometimes you must be still to focus the mind and be in a state of oneness with the universe. And there's other times you must take action. Individuals who don't care about other people, they take action in a heartbeat. You know, I found that out recently in major ways. I have a female friend of mine who was telling me about how crazy it is dating nowadays. And these guys who don't care about women, they act. The nice guys are, well, you know, I want to get to know her first, and I don't want to make her feel threatened. I want to, you know, maybe find out if she likes the same kind of anime I like, and nah. And then the dudes who don't care, they go right on in. And she was telling me about this one. She was telling me about this one dude who like had a baby, a real young baby, and was like in her DMs, like, "Hey, let's go out." And she's like, "Who baby is that?" He's like, "Oh, it's my wife's baby. Me and my wife just had a baby, but we together, but we not together no more." And I'm like, dang, these dudes are not afraid to act. These dudes take action. But the dude who will probably be a really nice guy and respectful, he out there trying to tiptoe through the tulips. And that's how our spirituality has become. Our spirituality has become stagnant because our spirituality has become so nervous and afraid of offending people. We become so stagnant in our spirituality. And a part of it is because we don't know how we're going to win. We are in the midst of a spiritual war. We can all sense that. We can all see that. We might not use that vocabulary, but we can sense that we are in the midst of a changing time. And we know something got to get done. Some of us might not know. Some of us might know and might be afraid. Some of us might be afraid of being outcasted, humiliated, mocked. But at the same time, it says, you know, in the Bhagavad Gita, you already won. Maybe they're acting for those not acting. Yeah, they are. We're not enforcing any kind of dharma on anybody. We're not enforcing laws and principles on anybody anymore. So people can do pretty much whatever they want. And unfortunately, because we live in a culture that's been sculpted over the last few centuries by psychopaths. So because we live in a psychopathic culture, we have individuals doing things with no remorse whatsoever. When they started doing their best to remove shame from our culture, that was the end of it. It's a sign of the end of the world. Shame is not a bad thing. Shaming people is a bad thing. Shaming people, making people feel embarrassed and humiliated, that's not a cool thing. But shame is not a bad thing. Actually, psychologists refer to shame as a social emotion. You need to feel shame. Exactly, no accountability. It's a real big issue. Because we got rid of shame. People can't be accountable if they don't feel ashamed of what they do. I saw a post on Facebook from a friend of mine, a female friend of mine. She was like, "Do cheaters ever stop and think, wow, you're ruining your family, or you could be hurting and destroying your family?" And I was thinking to myself, people don't feel that way anymore, simply because we got rid of shame from the culture. We have people who developed entire philosophies, fake philosophies, not even real philosophies, but a fake philosophy based upon immediate gratification and the annihilation of shame. And yes, there are some things going on we should be ashamed of. There are some things that we engage in we should be ashamed of. And righteous individuals must speak about these things. The abuse and disrespect of women, yes. And women disrespecting and abusing themselves. Yes. To me, the very idea that we live in a culture where the idea of having sex with somebody and feeling nothing, getting up and walking away, that's mind-blowing to me. The human brain and the human body wasn't developed to be like that. Even if you don't fall in love with everybody you sleep with, there's chemicals in your body that naturally make you feel attached to other people. So why in the world we would praise and glorify going against our own bodies, going against our own neurochemistry, is baffling to me. And technology, our technology has been, like, there's a book called the Extensions of Man by Marshall McLuhan. He talks about technology as a means of expanding man's reach and man's ideas. And there's a chapter in that book where he talks about how with television and technology, certain things we see, when we first see it, is shocking and disgusting, and then the second time we see it, we feel nothing, and then after a while it becomes acceptable. It becomes acceptable and enjoyable. And that's what's happened. Like some of the things I hear in music, I'm like, what, people think like this? The stories people tell me, "Oh yeah, I had sex and then I just got up and left." Like, what? What you mean? It's a person you just walked away from. You go away for a month or more at a time. Yeah, sometimes you have to. You absolutely have to. Nothing wrong with taking that personal space. But sometimes also, sometimes also it's mandatory that we start clearing the air and really, yeah, radio waves, yeah. And then we start clearing the air and laying down the ground and standing on the ground and saying, okay, this is it's time for us to confront these issues. Now we might not confront these issues in a big worldwide stage. I'm not well known like that. I'm not a big celebrity like that. But I am a man. I can stand my ground in small ways and educate people in small ways if I can. And if enough of us do that, say each of us go out into the world and confront 10 people with mixed up ways of seeing things. And it don't have to be 10 strangers, but it can be 10 people who we're friends with. 10 people we're close with. And just have these conversations. And then it multiplies. Pay it forward. But pay it forward when we're trying to make the world a better place. And you don't have to get into your political affiliation, none of that stuff. I don't believe none of that stuff anyway. But there is a righteous way to live that doesn't harm other people. In a true way to live. And if we could tap into the truth and tap into righteousness, we can make the world a better place. Slowly but surely. I mean, think about it. Like, think about the world in the last 100 years. Think about the world in the 1900s. A lot of the world, a lot of Europe was like third world countries in the early 1900s. And now you have these huge technologically, I mean, you got CERN over in Europe. They smashing atoms together and trying to see what the nature of reality is. So in the span of 100 years, the whole world changed and became completely different. Now you look at people's perspective on marriage. Totally different. Since the 1960s? Late 1950s to 1960s till now, people's whole perspective of marriage has changed. People will get married and stayed married. Nowadays, you got less and less people who want to get married. You got less and less people who even believe in commitment. You got more and more people experimenting with all these different kinds of relationships and just chasing misery everywhere. Whole world has changed. So if we start, imagine how if we start now. Some of us might not see it. Like Moses. Moses went to the promised land. He got right to the edge and died. God was like, okay, that's enough of you, Moses. God killed Moses right before he even got to the promised land. Some of us might be like Moses and not make it to the promised land, but we can lead others there. Yeah, God let Moses get right to the promised land, and Moses sent spies to go see what was going on over there, and then he died. He died. God was like, oh, "You ain't making it, man. Sorry, Moses." Okay, but we could be Moses. We might not make it to the promised land ourselves, but we could set things in motion. We gotta be spiritually more aggressive, and when I say aggressive, I don't mean hurting people. I'm not talking about beating people up, but I mean standing our ground, speaking up, asserting ourselves, and clearing out a space where righteousness is allowed. Clearing out spaces where women can feel safe and children can feel safe, and we don't have to watch the sexualization of little kids and pretend like it's just music or it's just entertainment. And yes, inner strength. Yes, Murdoch. The answer to every question is always self-development. That's something I say all the time. Self-development is extremely important. And then the goal is once you develop yourself, you're able to have an impact and influence on the world to make it a better place. Not just better as far as a place where you can make more money, but better as far as a place where people can feel safer. And it's important that those who are spiritual become less accommodating, to be honest. If you're a spiritual person, we tap dance around so many issues. But you read the Bible, you see Jesus used to just pop up. People be at a party laughing and joking. Jesus would just pop up and be like, "You read this scripture, my brother?" And piss everybody off. All the prophets did the same thing. People living their life doing what they want. The prophets pop up like, it's written in the scriptures, reminding people of righteousness, making them mad. But they were asserting themselves. They were being spiritually aggressive as opposed to being spiritually docile, standing back and letting the world go into complete corruption and decay. It's not going to stop. Mother Nature is going to intervene, but Mother Nature, God, the universe, whatever you call it, whatever terminology you use, faith without works is dead. You are already victorious. Launch the first arrow. I will slay them by your hand. In fire spirituality. And we have to be, it's like you use the term fire. Yeah, let's look at the term fire. In the Bible, the prophet Jeremiah. God came to the prophet Jeremiah and said, you got to go speak to the people. Jeremiah was like, nah, I can't. I'm not a good speaker. Sorry. Going back to bed, God. And then God sent another angel and said, yo, Jeremiah, you got to go talk to the people. Jeremiah's like, nah, I'm too nervous. I'm too scared. Can't do it. So then God sent another angel. When God sent the other angel, the angel touched his tongue. And then he had to speak. He had a fire in his belly. The angel put a fire in his belly and made it so that Jeremiah had to speak. He had to. His spirituality made him speak. And that's how our spirituality must become. We must speak. We must take action. We must become compassionately aggressive. Yes, I feel your pain. Yes, I feel your sadness. Yes, I can look in your eyes and see your story. Yes, I can tell by your body language you're traumatized. I'm going to be compassionate towards you, but I'm not going to let you destroy me or other people around us. That's the true path of spirituality. And I keep talking about the Bible, and I'm not a religious person at all, but I keep coming back to the Bible over and over again. I shall seek refuge in the Lord. If you're a righteous person, then people are going to seek refuge in you. That's how it's supposed to be. Being compassionately aggressive. What does that mean? It means resisting abuse and not going along with it. Using your gifts. What talents do you have? You might be a great artist. You might be a great speechwriter. You might be great at developing technology. Whatever your talent is, use it. But use it for righteousness. And in some instances, like it says in the Bible, the laying on of hands. You might have to put your hands on somebody. Get off me. You might have to snatch somebody up. And I'm saying that facetiously, but I've been in situations. I used to have horrible insomnia when I was going through deep depression. I used to walk all through my hometown, city of Hartford. And I've seen tons of fights, tons of situations with people pulling knives and guns, tons of situations where individuals were trying to harm women. And I had to intervene. Yo, what you doing? Stop. Yo, get off her. What you doing? Like really grabbing people. No, I'm not recommending you do that. I'm a big 250 some odd pound dude. And I got a beard. My beard intimidate people. So I'm safe. I got a beard and a kufi, so wherever I go, I'm safe. Anybody trying to get it in. But I'm not recommending y'all run out there like Batman. But yes, sometimes you gotta take action. And that action for you might be making a phone call. Or just yelling at somebody. Yo, get off her. I'm calling the cops. Too much, and it's too many of us who are righteous. Right, exactly. It's self-defense, but also defense of others too. There's too many of us who are righteous who, I don't want to be in nobody else's business. I don't want to mind nobody else's business. I don't want nobody getting mad at me. If you're righteous in an unrighteous world, people will get mad at you anyway. You know how many people I made mad when I said I don't want to drink no more? You're trying to be righteous in an unrighteous world. No matter what you do, people are going to be mad. I don't want to eat red meat no more. What? I used to get into arguments with people about that. What you mean you don't want to eat red meat no more? You must be able to drink. I don't want to drink no more. What you mean you don't? People, if you righteous in an unrighteous world, people going to be mad no matter what you do. I'm about to go read this book. I don't want to hang out. What you mean you about to read this book? I've been studying Islam. I'm about to start praying 5 times a day, even though I don't follow no religion. What you mean you praying 5 times a day? People just, in an unrighteous world, people just program for unrighteous behavior. If you do something good, they can just be mad. So you may as well just say, you know what, to hell with it. Let's get it popping. Let's do it. Give them a reason to be mad. Because they're going to be mad no matter what anyway. There was a old alternative rock album by, I think her name was Tracy Bonham. And the name of the album, I always thought the name of the album was kind of cool. It was The Burdens of Being Upright. Something like that. Being upright is a burden. It is. You upright. You sitting upright. It's a burden. Imagine sitting upright for, hours and hours out of the day. It's easier just to lay down. It's easier just to lay down and let it happen than to literally be upright. I'm upright right now in a real uncomfortable plastic chair. My butt is hurting. It'd be easier if I could just lay down and do this. Being upright right now is a burden. My big body ain't made for these little plastic chairs. Am I Muslim or Christian, Sharon? Neither. I study a little bit of everything. I consider myself everything and nothing. I could lay down and be comfortable. Nah, I couldn't do that. I would rather sit up and talk to y'all. Cause I gotta find a space to do it. I got the atmosphere just right in here. I got the lighting just right. I gotta rearrange everything if I'm gonna lay down and do these live streams. I'd rather just sit up, get it over with. But yeah, like I was saying, it may become necessary for us to resist. And I'm not talking about no crazy wacky insurrection, but I'm talking about it may be time for us to speak up more. We are Insight Timer is a mindfulness meditation app. All of us are on a spiritual journey. All of us are trying to look within. There should be more of us. Yeah, it's a judgment-free zone. I feel you. I feel you, Sharon. I feel you. But like I was saying, all of us are on that path. All of us are trying to look within to find the answers. And as we look within to find the answers, we got to connect with each other more often. When did I hear my call? I heard my call. I've always had this. I grew up in a strict Christian household, so I always had that spiritual element, and I always wanted to look deeper into it. So I went from being a Pentecostal, which was fascinating. Because I got older, I started studying Pentecostalism and the African spirituality behind it. I thought that was really cool. And then I became a Jehovah's Witness, which I thought was, looking back on it, that was kind of cool too, because that was another way of looking at Christianity, but it was an order, which I like. I like studying hidden orders, secret orders, individuals with esoteric knowledge. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, they kind of had some interesting stuff. And the guy who founded it, Charles Taze Russell, he was a Freemason. So if you notice these different groups of orders, whether they be Christian or Muslim, they had like certain similarities. Like the year 1914, and all of these groups was very important year in their theology. For the Jehovah's Witnesses, 1914 is very important. I think for the Nation of Islam was very important. I think in the Moorish Science Temple of America that year was very important. A lot of stuff so all these different. So that was fascinating to me, going through that journey and learning how to study. Am I in New York? No, I'm in Maryland right now. And then when I turned 24, I found a book called The Religions of Man by Houston Smith, and that really kind of opened my mind up a lot. So that was kind of like me discovering my calling. Then I went through depression after the death of my father for like a decade. And then that kind of forced me, because I started having panic attacks, that forced me to start exercising my mind, becoming more mindful and meditating. So that's kind of like me finding my calling. But going back to what I was saying, it's imperative that we start to see ourselves in these spiritual texts. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Whenever you read these spiritual texts, they're confusing. They're mind blowing. They're ambiguous. You're welcome, Murdoch. They're ambiguous, but they become more clear when you start looking for yourself in the stories. When you see it as an autobiography and it's a story about your spiritual journey, then it becomes very clear. And I want you to start seeing yourself in these stories. When you read about Krishna and Arjuna, see yourself as Krishna and Arjuna. When you read about Shiva, see how Shiva applies to you. See how you are Shiva. See how you are Christ even. It all applies to you. It's all about your spiritual journey. And then it becomes clear as day then, because it's telling you what must be done. And in all these stories, all these texts from King David all the way down to, the book of Revelation, it's all about people being inspired by divinity to take action. Zawadi, blessings. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, Zawadi. So like I was saying, we must start to see ourselves in these spiritual texts and start taking action. If you're a Muslim, see the Prophet Muhammad. He took action. He got hit with the revelation and took action. Jesus Christ got hit with the revelation in the River Jordan when he got baptized by John the Baptist. Took action. We must take some kind of action, whether it be feeding somebody who we know is hungry on the way home from work, or whether it be speaking up when somebody's saying something we know is not true. And it's a hassle. It's a hassle. It's a thankless job. And not only is it thankless, but people are actually going to dislike you for what you say. But that's okay. Launch the first arrow. Victory is already yours. And we will be victorious because we are operating in harmony with the laws of nature, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe. How could we ever lose? How could righteous people ever lose when we're the ones in harmony with the universe? This immense universe, we are moving in, or we're trying our best to move in harmony with all of this, the sun, the moon, the stars, the oceans, quasars. We try to move in harmony with all of this. How could we lose with this much force and power behind us? It's the individuals who are trying to go against that are going to lose. Like I was talking about earlier, individuals who are, we have a natural biological, neurological reaction when we make love to somebody. Even if you're not in love with them, even if it's just a sexual thing, you're going to have a sense of compassion and connection with them. Our people are being trained nowadays to feel nothing, to have sex and get up and walk away like it means nothing. But you'll notice they're losing. Individuals who act like that, they're losing. They're the ones stressed out and drained and getting sick and spreading illness. They're losing. Those of us who understand the principle of the universe and move in harmony with that, we're finding happiness. We're finding connections and relationships. We're living longer. We're watching what we eat and we look younger. I'm 41 years old. When I used to work with the kids I used to work with, nobody believed I was in my 40s. Everybody thought I was like 20, 29, 30. I drink water and eat plants. I'm moving in harmony with the laws and principles of the universe. I'm 25. Nah, I wish I was 25. I wish I knew then what I know now. I would have invested in Bitcoin. But like I was saying, yeah, those of us who are taking the path of righteousness, we not getting sick. I've mentioned that before on my last live stream. I'm taking plants now instead of medicine. I'm moving in harmony with the principles of the universe. I ain't really been sick in a couple years. Actually, like a year and a half ago, I think I got like a cough. I took a shower and I had to run to my car to go grab something like a bonehead. It was cold outside. I had a cough for like 3 or 4 days. We have divine backing, exactly, Zawadi. So we are putting ourselves in a position of power. We can't lose. We can't. Even though the enemy seems powerful. Same thing with Arjuna. When he was talking to Krishna, he was sitting there crying his eyes out like, look how big the enemy's army is. Look at the warriors. Look at these great warriors and these monsters and these gods that they have fighting on their behalf. Imagine how the Israelites felt, surrounded on all sides by enemies. You have the Ammonites, the Assyrians, the Persians. Everybody around them wanted to wipe them out. But they survived and continue to survive to this day. Like Jay-Z said, Jay-Z used to have a thing where he would always say, I will not lose. That's us. In the Quran, Allah says, I will slay your enemies, but by your hand. God is working with us. The universe, whatever term you prefer, is working with us. Time is working with us. Because as we get healthier and drink more water and move more and flow with the nature of the universe, we're gonna start looking younger and feeling healthier. The gospel of Jay-Z, yeah. He had to fight his family, Jay-Z. To an extent, everybody has to, though. But as time goes on, we're going to understand that people's definition of spirituality has been spoon-fed to them. Arjuna, yeah. He had to fight his family. Our definition of spirituality has been spoon-fed to us by individuals who just want to oppress us. They call that a slave religion. You being given a religion that tells you that you're supposed to turn the other cheek and not fight back and not stand your ground and not take action and be a good citizen, follow the laws. There's a scripture that says something like, slaves obey your masters. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. Zet Nuffy Betna. The oil is within us. Okay, the oil is within us. So what does that mean, Zawadi? You said that was a South Sudanese proverb. I never heard that before. Can you explain that to us? The oil, I think oil and fire. You know, when you have a lamp, you put oil inside the lamp. So maybe that means like the fire is inside of us, the fuel is inside of us. Oh, okay, I got you, Zawadi. What matters is how I receive it. Okay, got you. I like that. I like that. The oil is within us. But yeah, so the time has come. The time has come for us to rearrange and redefine what spirituality means. If you notice, individuals who are considered to be the most spiritual are the individuals who are like the most active. You look at Thich Nhat Hanh. You know, he's a famous Buddhist meditation teacher, a real famous monk. He's active. He's like 90 something years old now. He's getting old and he had trouble moving around. But while he was alive, he was always moving around teaching, always going all around the world teaching. The Dalai Lama running around, going to peace conferences, going to the United Nations. Sadhguru going to the United Nations and speaking to them. They actually invited him to the U.S. and he was aboard one of the military ships and everything. So individuals who are spiritual are active. They're doing things, trying to make the world a better place. Sadhguru, yeah, joy is within us, etc. Gotcha, Zawadi. Gotcha. Sadhguru was trying to plant, I think he said he was trying to plant like 100 million trees over in India. You got other individuals who are opening up centers to help people heal their trauma. You got people in South America open up ayahuasca centers so they can teach people about how to use plants to heal neurological issues and mental health issues and trauma. Active. Spirituality is active. The Spirit of God is active. One of the first scriptures in the Bible. I keep going back to the Bible tonight. It's a Bible night. One of the first scriptures in the Bible says the Spirit of God moved over the surface of the deep. From the very beginning, the first thing we read about the Spirit of God in the Bible was that it's moving. Moved over the surface of the deep. What does the deep mean? Well, the deep means water, of course. Life came from water. But also, your body is 70% water. Spirit of God is moving within you. Now you got to move. We all got to move. Me included. But it's getting a little late. I got to get up tomorrow and mow the lawn and hang out with my little baby boys. But yeah, I'm coming back next week. I think next week what I want to talk about is how trauma affects what we desire. I was talking to somebody about doing what they want. It was like, I'm gonna do what I want. I started thinking about it, how so much of what we want is influenced by trauma. How doing what you want ain't really the answer. Doing what's gonna benefit you is more logical. So I think I'm gonna talk about that next week. And I keep promising y'all, there's a book that there's a live stream I did talking about the books of the dead, and I talked about the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I talked about the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Per Em Heru, and there was another one I forgot. I think it was the Book of Gates. But I keep telling y'all that I want to talk about the Lafafa Sedek, which is the Ethiopian, they call it a quote unquote Ethiopian Book of the Dead. And it was like a very interesting read because it was a book about Christianity, but it was early Christianity in Ethiopia. So a lot of pre-Christian concepts and traditions were in that book. It was really interesting. And it's an ancient book. And I finally got my hands on a copy. I read it, and I keep telling myself I want to talk to you guys about it, but it just hasn't been the right time for whatever reason. But I want to do that eventually. One of these days, I'm gonna do like a collection. I'm gonna do like 3 or 4 in a row where I talk about the books of the dead, and I want to talk about the Lafafa Sedek a little bit, but I just haven't found a way to connect it yet. Nicole, thank you. Peace and blessings to you, and peace and blessings to everybody. I'm glad y'all showed up. Thank you so much. I think I was like a minute and a half late or something like that. It was something wrong with my connection to my internet here at the house. It never gives me problems, but I was having problems on my phone, my computer, everything. But I'm glad that we cleared that up. I'm glad to see everybody. Hopefully I see y'all again. What's the title again? The Ethiopian title is Lafafa Sedek, but the English title is The Bandlet of Righteousness. And the Bandlet of Righteousness is pretty much like a ribbon of cloth, like a band that they tie around the body of the dead, like mummies. and they write spells inside the bandlet that goes around your body to protect your body from evil spirits and protect your spirit. It's interesting, but it's also an early Christian text. So that Ethiopian pre-Christian magic is all in the text. It's super interesting. But I'm trying to think of how I can connect it to what we talk about, because I like it because I'm just a geek. I'm just a nerd. I like studying it. I just like studying it. But I haven't figured out how to connect it yet and make it connect with y'all. Yep, Sarah, Lafafa Sadek, yep. Thank you very much for the donation, Mama B. Appreciate that. But I'm going to say peace and blessings to all of y'all. Good night. Good night. Love all of y'all. See y'all next Wednesday, all right? Peace.